Hi everyone, this is a Valentine's Day recipe. I want to show you how to make these love caterpillar macarons. These are the ingredients. I won't read them, but you can pause this video here as needed. They'll also be in the description box below. The macaron cookies are raspberry flavored, so to make this we're going to cook down some raspberries. So you can either boil them down and then strain them like I'm doing here, or you can strain them, mash out the juices, and then boil the juice down. Either way, you want just the concentrated juice without the seeds. You want to cook down half a cup of raspberries into about 1 teaspoon of raspberry concentrate. Next, you want to mix together 85 grams of icing sugar with 65 grams of almond flour. Usually you do sift them together, but I found that because I didn't have a sifter, just mashing any lumps out with my spoon and then stirring again to loosen the mixture worked just fine. Next, you want to add 50 grams of egg whites into a clean bowl and start beating just to loosen up the protein strands. Once it's a little bit foamy, you want to add a pinch of salt. This isn't a traditional ingredient for macarons, it's more just for the flavor. Give the mixture a stir after the salt and then add 40 grams of granulated sugar in 3 separate additions. So after each addition, beat the egg whites for 15 to 30 seconds just to give the sugar a chance to dissolve before you add the next batch. So in total, 40 grams of granulated sugar. And after you add the third addition, just beat the mixture until you get firm peaks, like this. Get all the egg whites off the whisk, and then it's time to add the dry ingredients. So add the dry ingredients all at once, and then stir until there's no loose mixture of egg whites and no loose flour left behind. It's a pretty stiff mixture. In the beginning it'll seem like there's too much dry ingredients compared to the egg whites, but just keep stirring it and it'll come together. And then once it's together, we actually need to stir it some more in the next step when we add the raspberry concentrate. So we don't want to get the perfect texture right now, because then after stirring it some more, it'll be too liquidy. Right now, the mixture is still sliding off my spatula in globs instead of more of a smooth cascade, so it still needs to be stirred some more, but now is a good time to split the mixture. First, take about 2 teaspoons of mixture into a separate cup, and this is to pipe the heart decorations on the caterpillar bodies. So we're stirring it a couple times more, and then we're going to put it in a piping bag fitted with a pretty small tip. This is a Wilton number 2 plain tip. It's about 3 millimeters in diameter. Add this small amount of batter into the piping bag and then set aside. Next, you want to spoon out another 2 teaspoons or so of the batter and then stir in a smear of the raspberry concentrate, which is about 1/8 of the entire amount. And this will color your batter pretty dark. And then add it to another piping bag with a plain tip, this time Wilton 8 or about a 5 millimeter diameter tip. Again, set that aside, and then add the rest of your raspberry concentrate to the remaining batter, which is most of the batter, and then stir it in. So I like stirring it into a small portion just to get the color a bit more evenly distributed, and then stirring that into the bigger mixture, and this just makes it easier to stir the color in evenly without stirring that many times. And you can apply the same technique when adding food coloring or chocolate or anything else to a pre-made batter as well. So now is the time to stir to get the right consistency. And as you can see, the batter is falling off my spatula and the side of my bowl in more of a consistent cascade rather than in globs, and this is the texture you're looking for the macarons. So fill this into a third piping bag, this time Wilton 12 or about an 8 millimeter plain tip. Now we're ready to pipe, and as you can see, I just drew my own template. It's just a couple circles side by side. I'll also have the link to a template that you can print out in the description box below. Ideally, you want to use a silpat to line your cookie sheet because silpat won't make the cookies wrinkle as parchment paper would, but parchment paper will work alright as well. So when you're piping, you want to pipe more or less within the lines. At this point, you don't need the circles of batter to be touching each other because they'll spread a little bit when you tap them out and also when you bake them. You want to pipe half of this bag of main batter in this orientation, and because the shape is not symmetrical, you have to flip it around and pipe half of the batch the other way. So you get a mirror image, or because I've taken so many years of chemistry, the word enantiomer sticks out. Let me know if you know that word. Once all the cookies have been baked, you want to give the pan a couple of big taps on the table just to let out any large bubbles, which will prevent cracks. And then finally, we want to decorate. So with your pink batter, the one with the raspberry concentrate added, we want to add dollops onto each side of the head for cheeks. And of course, you just want to add it to one side because the other side of the cookies will be the back of the head, and we're not looking for like a double face caterpillar here. And then with the plain batter, just pipe small hearts. I'm sorry for the angle, I should have angled the camera a bit better. And then when you're done piping, just let the batter sit for 15 to 20 minutes to let the skin form. If it's a humid day or a summertime, it can take between 30 and 40 minutes. So when the top of the cookie does not stick to your finger when you tap it gently, it's time to preheat the oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake for about 15 to 20 minutes. So this is how they look when they come out. You don't want the color to change or brown, but you do want the feet to rise. And you want to cool it at room temperature and then put the whole tray into the freezer. Just for about 15 minutes or so, and this will help the ganache filling set. With the filling, I'm including two options, so you can have a matcha white chocolate ganache filling, which I'm making here, about a teaspoon of matcha powder and about 40 grams of heavy cream. Just stir it to dissolve and then add 45 grams of white chocolate and then microwave in about 15-second intervals, stirring in between to make the ganache. This is not a traditional way to make ganache, but it works very well for a small amount like this. Let it just cool to room temperature before filling. So this is one option. Also do a dark chocolate version. So this is 40 grams of dark chocolate and also 40 grams of heavy cream. Part of the dark chocolate is raspberry flavored dark chocolate. It's optional. Again, microwave in 15-second intervals, stirring in between until it melts. Let it cool to room temperature before putting in a piping bag. Once your ganache has cooled to room temperature, line up your macaron cookies and then fill. Use a piping bag. It's much easier and neater than using a spoon, and with your piping bag it's always safer to cut the tip smaller and have to recut a larger tip than to cut it too big and have all your filling just flow out before you want it to. And then melt about 2 grams of dark chocolate just for decoration, and then you can use either a paper piping bag like I'm doing, or just use a toothpick, dab it in, and like you're applying makeup, just drop the face on. The other option for decoration is to use a matcha powder paste. For this one, you want about a gram or a little bit of matcha powder and just 1 or 2 drops of water just to make a thick green paste. You can use toothpick, or if you don't have one like me, you can just use the tines of a fork to draw a face on and it'll work fine. So this is how they turned out. I think it looks pretty cute if you ask me. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you all have a very sweet and happy Valentine's Day. See you next time. Bye!